Building AI agents for business. You want to implement AI and automation into your business, but you're stuck using AI like a chatbot. You think implementing is hard and overly technical, and AI can't do the job as well as you. But the truth is, building proper systems around AI will 10x your productivity. My name's Scott Bartnick. I'm a 2x Inc. 5000 CEO, and I've implemented systems and AI agents into thousands of businesses. I'm going to teach you exactly how to build AI agents for your business using systems, not code. Okay, let's jump right in. So the first thing we need to understand is as we build out these AI agents for your business, we want to determine where we're actually going to build them. And so we do this by looking at your constraints. Now, this really depends. You might have a company-wide constraint, or as a founder, as a leader, as an executive, you might have your own constraints. You need to pick where you're going to look first. Typically, what I do is I go after my personal constraints first. That way I can free up my time to help the rest of the company scale and grow. So the easiest way to do this is look at what do you not like doing? What's the needy piece in your business? What's driving you crazy? And if you can't figure that out, the next step is to do a time study. Figure out where your time is actually going, where you're making decisions, where you're getting decision fatigue, where you can really make an impact into the business, and go after that low-hanging fruit. Now, the next piece as we think about AI agents is we want to think about them as systems. So as we look at these constraints, as we look at different parts of our business, we really want to understand what a system is. And very simply, a system is something that has an input coming in. We're going to actually do the work, get it done. We're going to deliver whatever needs to be delivered. And then what most people miss is we need feedback on that process. So we need to be able to improve it in a cycle. So I'm going to show you exactly how all of this works into AI agents. Now, finding that constraint is step one. In step two, what we need to do is document the current process. So we want to look at exactly what you're currently doing, because we don't want to try to improve it or implement automation, because we probably need to learn everything about it and then look for opportunities. So what we're going to do is, let's use an example. One of the things I built was my sales team was doing a lot of sales calls and they had trouble getting all the proposals done. And what we found was that each proposal takes 30 minutes to an hour to create a really good strategy and proposal that's custom to that person. So we were setting them up for failure because they were doing 8 calls a day. Each call takes 30 plus minutes, and then they had no time to actually do follow-up, do the proposal, and have a really good touch handoff. So what we started to do was look at the current state. We didn't go and fix everything. We just said, okay, what exactly are we doing? What does this proposal look like? How are we doing it? And we just documented the steps in what I call an SOP. If you want SOP examples, there are some down below. You can grab the templates for free. Now in here, what we want to do is next design our ideal state. So step 3 is looking at what this actually looks like. And we'll continue down the proposal situation. So what happened was my team would get off a call. They would then start doing a post-call form, and then they would go in and to finish the form, they'd have to have a proposal done. And then to do their follow-up email, typically they need to send a proposal with that. So there were a lot of kind of barriers and things that had to get done. So what we wanted to do was, instead of making them complete a proposal and then fill out the form and then send an email, we created a workflow, an AI agent that looks at the call transcription, pre-generates the post-call form. They are able to then see a pre-populated link in their email. They click on generate. Once they're happy with the way the form is filled out, it generates the proposal and generates a draft email for them. So it took what was really over an hour of time and took it down to like 15 minutes of them looking at it, making their improvements and making their changes. So this was a huge improvement. And our ideal state really was that they would get off the call and they would have some sort of trigger that they would then be able to populate all of the next steps for them, but still giving them the ability to provide the feedback and improve it, because everyone we bring on our team are experts. And so it's really an AI assisted workflow versus a full kind of do it yourself. Now in step 4, what we want to do is implement any changes we made first manually. We want to make sure that the process works. We want to find every little piece in that AI system. Basically, we want to make sure that all of our prompts, so even if we're just like kind of manually putting it into ChatGPT or into Claude or whatever tool you like using, and we're getting all the feedback, so we're actually seeing how everything works, and we're just taking our time. So it might actually go from taking you an hour to get these proposals to 2 hours at first, but we're documenting how exactly we want it to do. We actually added in some sections as well. We didn't have a really good strategy section. We didn't have a really good timeline section. So we extended the proposal. And so to do this, we first manually did the process over and over again. And typically I do this, depends on the process, but I do it at least 3 times, if not upwards of 20 times. What I'm trying to do is find all the edge cases and variables and understand what the workflow is, and then actually get feedback from the clients. So did they like the new proposals? Did they like the changes? Are they happy with it? Is it coming off too robotic? So we're really implementing a manual system, and this works across any platform. One of the agents I also recently built was one that helps me do YouTube research. And what I did was, before I actually built the agent, I went through and did YouTube research. I made a spreadsheet. I got all the document numbers that I needed, all the formulas I was using, and I really documented that process so I understood. But then I just did it manually, because you can't really ask someone to do it automated if you don't understand at least what the end result is that you want. So I went ahead and did it manually. Now in step 5, it's fairly simple, but we need to document exactly what that ideal state looks like. So we looked at what we were currently doing, we figured out any fixes that we wanted, and now we just need to document this new future state. We need definitions, how all the formulas, how everything works, what good looks like, what bad looks like, examples, prompts, everything you need to get this job done, you need to document it. And the goal really is that if I were to go hire a international hire, a VA, could they read this standard operating procedure and go implement the process? If the answer is no, you can't really expect AI to fully build this out and make a robust system that's better than what you had before. Now, yes, you can probably put a band-aid on something and maybe make something, a connection a little bit quicker, but that's not truly an agentic AI agent, which is what we want to build to. Now, in here, again, I have an example down below of an SOP template, but you really want to just grab every detail in there. Once you have this document, it makes building that AI agent really, really simple, because you're going to actually just upload that to a tool, and I'll go through tools in a minute. You're going to say, help me build out a more thorough plan to turn this into an AI agent. And I'll show you exactly how we do that in a second. Now, before we go into the actual building of the AI agent, one of the things that I mentioned in a system is we have inputs. So inputs for agents is usually some sort of trigger, something that's making the agent start, whether it's a specific time, whether it's an action. So I mentioned that a call is the trigger here, whether it's a client email coming in, whatever that trigger is, then it's going to kind of be that input. So that trigger is your input. It's inputting information to your system. And then the system's going to actually do the work. So it's going to process that information the way you outlined in that standard operating procedure. And then it's going to deliver the work the way that you told it to. So that might be the link to the proposal in an email with a template for them to reply to actually like hit send, or it could be in your inbox in Gmail. You can have AI actually draft an email for you with the link, and all you have to do is hit send. So there's different ways to have that work delivered, but the key piece here is allowing for feedback to go into the circle. And so in our system, what we do is, before it actually generates, we have a form created, and it will then basically look at, and then the salesperson can go in and actually modify what it pulled out of the call. So this is the first piece of feedback, is it's before it even runs, we're getting some kind of feedback loop in there. And then what my team does is we submit every week, we submit proposals that won, so people that actually hired us, and we build that into our system. So it becomes part of our knowledge base. And that way the system consistently gets better and better as it reads through these examples, understands what's actually working and what's not working. So that full feedback loop is how you get more of an agentic AI agent versus just something that's going through and following up. An example of a bad AI agent would be a chatbot. Have you ever gone on a chatbot and you've asked questions about billing, or you've had a frustration and the AI system just doesn't help you or doesn't solve the issue? That's probably because they don't have a really good feedback loop. They don't have frustration handling. They don't have a way to get those answers better and better, and they don't know how to adjust as we move forward. Now, a better example would be Amazon, who spent millions and probably billions on their AI system. The AI agent actually does things for you. If I have a problem with a product, they'll instantly refund me. They'll give me credits to my account. They've designed that client facing first, so it's solving, and it's one of its core goals is to make sure that the client is happy or the customer is happy. So it has a better feedback loop. And then a lot of times you'll see in these systems, they'll say, rate the conversation. And what will happen is on the back end, it can actually flag bad conversations. And there's probably a human or a supervising agent that's going over and adjusting the program and adjusting the code based on people's feedbacks, looking for opportunities. So this feedback loop is super, super important as you move towards more agentic AI agents. Now, how do we actually implement this? The key thing here is focusing on the actual system, because the implementation is getting easier and easier by the day. What was relevant a year ago is absolutely not the same process now. So a couple of the key tools that I use, one, Claude right now is winning on pretty much everything code related. And when we talk about this example, you would take your standard operating procedure, you'd put it into Claude, and you'd say, help me build out a plan to implement this AI agent. And then you would ask the questions back and forth. And I do have as well a template of key things that you need to have in your plan for AI agents. So if you want to grab that, it's down below and it'll help you. Now, Manus is another tool that I'm really using more and more. Right now, I'm basically using Manus and Claude. Claude, I do some of my more advanced coding with or bigger projects. The cost is a little bit cheaper as well when it comes to programming. It's just designed for that. But Manus kind of integrates all of the pieces so you can actually build out full workflows, full agents, have things scheduled in Manus. So every morning you can have it scheduled to send you a report on billing, cash flow, on your inbox. You can have it go clean up your inbox every morning just by scheduling a workflow. What I like about Manus is you can do it all in just natural conversation. You can say, hey, I want to set this up. What do I need to do? What are the steps? Here is the different pieces. This is what I want it to work on my Gmail. I want it to look at my billing. I want it to do all of these things. So with both these tools, you can connect your other tools. So the more information you give it, like you can, if you use Asana for project management, you can connect all of these different tools to really make these items smarter. So a simple backbone to actually making AI agents kind of run based on triggers, like that call example, the proposal. We use N8N for that. So N8N, Zapier, and Make are the three. Zapier is still my favorite for ease of use. Integrating tools is basically a standard. You log in, it has the tool. Make works similar, it's a little bit more advanced, and then N8N is the most advanced but most complicated. However, you can integrate all of these tools into your Claude or into your Manus and just say, hey, Claude, can you now build this in N8N for me? And can you test it? And then it'll start testing it. So that's why I'm not actually gonna go into N8N. There's no reason to learn the nodes or error solving or anything like that. What you need to understand is the system and how to really, not even prompt, how to develop a full system. Because if you ask the right questions, it will help you prompt through it. And again, you can grab that SOP down below that walks you through how I start any conversation on building out a system. Now, you saw one more tool here, and that's Supabase. This is the data set behind everything. So almost every tool I make, you want it to remember and you want it to organize the data. So I mentioned that the feedback loop with our proposals is it stores old proposals that have done well, where we've gotten good feedback, where we've actually made sales, and that's stored in Supabase. Now you can do this with lead generation, you can do this with app development I mentioned that I have an AI agent that's really not an AI agent. I built entire software that is focused on YouTube data, and that's based on Supabase. Now I do also have a beta for my YouTube software, probably down below or coming out soon if you have any interest in that. But the Supabase is so powerful because it allows it to store everything that's being done over and over again. So that was step 7. Now in step 8, the goal is to continuously refine it and then repeat. We built a system, we have it working, we've solved a problem, we've freed up time, hopefully, and now we actually need to go find what the next thing to do is. Now, when I'm looking at these problems, I didn't mention before, as we look at a constraint, if we're gonna actually implement a solution to a constraint, we wanna make sure that it either brings in new revenue, it increases lifetime value of your current system, your clients, your customers. It either reduces risk or recaptures time. If the answer is no to all of those, you don't have a real constraint. You probably have noise and you need to find something else. So as you're looking to repeat this system, you want to find what's actually going to move the needle in your business. And that's how system architecture really builds all of these AI agents and all of your team. Every piece of it really relies on systems. So if you understand systems, you're going to understand how to implement this a lot easier. Now, I teach systems in the Founder Systems AI course and community, which you can grab down below. You can grab all of these templates that I mentioned for free, and I want to help you succeed. So if you want to learn more about AI agents, about systems, about implementing into your business, hit the subscribe button. Or if you have specific questions on one of these tools or how I would solve a problem, throw it in the comments down below. I do my best best to make videos on ones that are relevant to my audience.